All right, hello guys. How's it going? So, after years of trying, since honestly about 18 years old, I've finally been able to hit the infamous 10K a month mark, right? And I'm going to run you through basically what it took to get me here because everybody online likes to make you think it's like, oh my God, buy my thing and you'll get to 10K a month tomorrow. And you see everybody just doing 10K a month within 3 months of trying, and it looks so easy. And if you're not doing 10K a month, you're an idiot and you're the scum of the earth for not even being as rich as these people. Like, I understand how that feels because I went through that entire cycle, right? I finally got here. I finally got to the infamous 10K a month, right? And I'm gonna run you through what it actually cost me because sometimes I do sit here and I think to myself, was that actually worth it? Right. And it's going to sound ridiculous saying that, but sometimes I do sit there and think the amount of stuff that I went through and what I had to sacrifice just to get to six figures a year, was it even worth it? Okay. And I'm going to run you through my museum of failures to getting here. Okay. And it's something that a lot of people don't talk about online. It's very glamorized, like, oh, yeah, just start this model, make 10K a month, bro. It's a lot deeper than that, a lot darker than that. Okay. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Aidan Kolinsky. I've been in the appointment setting space for about 2 years now. I've worked with people like Charlie Morgan and William Brown. I've made well over $1.7 million in cash for my clients, right? And I've seen obviously well over six figures of that for myself as well, okay? Appointment setting has changed my life, and this whole channel is dedicated to helping people like yourself who are looking to make money in the whole online remote sales space do it properly, because I'm still in the game and I know what I'm talking about, okay? But on to the video. So my museum of failures to 10K a month, right? This is what I had to go through. So I've got a couple of stories here for you. I could go on for about 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours straight, talking about what I've had to go through to get to where I am. Okay, but I'm going to just start off with a couple of stories. If you guys like what you hear, we can carry it on. Okay, so number one. I'm not going to name his name, but I bought a 997 agency course and tried to start my own agency for about a year and a half with no results at all. I'm not going to blame the person that sold me the course, because truthfully it wasn't his fault. It was me. I wasn't the kind of person that could make it work. I had a lot of internal problems I had to fix. But that alone was a big failure. But I'm going to go into something a lot deeper than that as well. So started this agency for a year and a half. No results, no clients, no payments, no nothing while I was working at this retail job. I used to go to my shift and I stupidly told everyone that I was going to, start my own business and make loads of money. Never made it work, so it was quite embarrassing, right? But I finally managed to book my first ever meeting, right? My first ever appointment. I started an ecom marketing agency and I somehow managed to book this pretty high-end brand into a meeting, and they were doing about 50K a month revenue. And the person that owned the brand, I'm not going to say their name, but they were on a very big reality TV show in the UK. Okay, I'm not going to say the name just in case. I don't want it to get out and the person to see it, but they were a very big star on this very big reality TV show, and they booked in a call with me, and I was just some teenager in a bedroom at this point, right? I was 18 years old. I was in my, I was in my mum's spare room, my childhood teenage bedroom, with a HP laptop with a terrible webcam, with my camera faced towards the wall and the door, and I had to take down this Muhammad Ali motivational picture to not look childish. And I remember honestly going onto that sales call, not knowing what I was going to say, not knowing what objections were, objection handling, what's that? I hadn't even got an invoice template set up or a contract template set up. I didn't know how I was going to deliver the results. And I remember damn near like feeling like I was going to have a heart attack that morning of doing the sales call. I remember I hopped on with this person, right? And I wish, I'd love to release the footage at some point. I think I will, because you can't see their name or anything and I can blur the voice. But the call lasted about 5 minutes long tops, like I think 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, around that mark, 5 to 10. It wasn't very long. And it was hilarious, like looking back now. But I remember just honestly feeling so embarrassed because I was following this script in this 997 program, which was outdated and wasn't relevant to my situation at all. And like they were just very obviously like thinking, what am I doing on this call with this teenager in some smelly bedroom, right? It's a fair concern. And mid call, like I remembered in the course, you were told to record your meeting so you can see like where you went wrong and see like what you can do better and all of this stuff. And I remembered after we'd started the call and did the whole rapport, building stage where, well, I say it's rapport building. I think I was just like, oh, what's the weather like down there? Like, something really cringe, right? I remembered suddenly, oh, I'm supposed to record the call. And I didn't realize on Zoom that you had to go and manually click record, and it lets the other person know and gives them a notification that you started recording the call. So I didn't know that. I thought it only did it for me. So literally while they were mid talking, mid conversation, right, after I'd asked them a question, I literally just clicked record call and it went recording in progress really loud, and it like stopped obviously it came up with like a thing like of them having to click OK. They were mid conversation, mid sentence, and just stopped for like 5 seconds and then carried on after me recording, like pressing record. And I remember thinking, that's humiliating. And it got to the point where I tried asking them how much money they were doing per month with the company, and they said, I don't feel comfortable telling you that because I can't see any testimonials, and you just look like a teenager in your mum's, spare room, like you're in your mum's house in your bedroom. So why should I take you seriously? And I remember I straight up just went, yeah, good point. Maybe we should book another call in when I've got some more testimonials for you. I need to ask my media buyer for the testimonials. Didn't have a media buyer, didn't know what I was talking about. And they were like, yep, I think we should do that. This is a bit of a waste of my time. I'm going to hop off the call now. So yeah, and then ended the call. And that honestly doesn't sound too bad, right? But that kind of destroyed me at the time because I was 18. I was scraping like not even $1,000 a month. I had nothing to my name. And I'd just been basically rinsed by this millionaire saying like, why am I on this call with some teenager in their mum's house in their bedroom? And it was pretty humiliating. So as a crippling introvert and somebody that couldn't look girls in the eyes, like around that time, taking a sales call with a multi-millionaire and being called out for just being a teenager in their bedroom, right, not knowing what they're talking about, that was humiliating, right? And it bothered me for a while, and honestly, it kind of destroyed me. So I had to go through that. That was pretty embarrassing, right? So the next one is failed mentorship. So I bought the 997 course. It didn't work. I was still determined to make it work. So I started talking to this guy that offered one-to-one mentorship. I paid him $2,500 for agency consulting, agency mentorship. It was the worst $2,500 I've ever spent in my life. He used to take 4 days at a time to respond to me, sometimes a week at a time to respond to me. That was all the money I had in the world back then, and it didn't work at all. And also, I suddenly realized, and I can say this now because obviously I've worked with Charlie Morgan. Most of his content was like basically a copy and paste of Charlie's. Like I could clearly see, because obviously from being on the team when I was working with Charlie previously, I could see that this guy had just gone in and stolen Charlie's stuff and then resold it. So I saw that afterwards, of course, but yeah, felt pretty stupid. $2,500 down the drain. And then he just disappeared off the face of the earth after that, and then just suddenly stopped talking to me, suddenly stopped messaging me, and I was just like, $2,500 down, didn't know what I was going to do. Felt really depressed, and honestly I was so close to going and getting like a job as a bin man, because I wasn't making enough to make my car payments, I wasn't making enough to actually fund my lifestyle. I had a girlfriend, which I'm going to get into, that I couldn't afford to take on dates or anything, and I was so close. I remember looking on applications, like job application websites, to apply as a bin man because they were making 17-18 grand a year for my age. And I remember talking to my mum and going, wow, 17-18 grand a year, that's great. I'm so glad I didn't do it. So yep, $2,500 down the drain, failed mentorship, failed 997 course, failed agency, on this call with a millionaire and got my ass handed to me, basically. The next one is I've got heartbreak. Okay, so the next one is I had to break up with my girlfriend at the time. That I'm not going to get into too much detail about that, but that destroyed me. I was trying to build this thing while I was with her, and I realised it was either going to be her or my future or the company. I couldn't manage both. It just wouldn't have worked for reasons I'm not going to get into in this video. And I had to make the hard decision to end it. And obviously I really liked her and I was in love and everything. It was the first girl that I was properly in love with. And yeah, I had to end it, and it destroyed me. And I had that on top of like failure after failure, failed agency, $2,500 down the drain. I was actually in debt. I had to pay my mum off for that mentorship that I bought. I had to pay my mum off over the course of like 8 months. Broke up with this girl that I was, that I liked. heartbroken, no money, no nothing, didn't know what the hell I was going to do, rock bottom. Okay, and that was terrible. And to put matters worse, a very close family member of mine, got cancer. They're fine now, thankfully. But it's a very, it was a very big thing, and it was like I'd just broken up with my girlfriend. I was heartbroken. I had like 3 grand in debt. Didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life. I was fat. I was spotty. I couldn't talk to girls. I was shy. I was anxious. I was depressed. And then on top of that, a very close family member got cancer, and it wasn't looking good for a while. And it was just like, I honestly didn't know how it was going to get any better than that. And I thought, how are there people making 10, 20, 30K a month living the good life, going to Dubai and stuff? And I'm here with family member with cancer, heartbroken, this girl that I loved that I had to basically leave, loads of money in debt, didn't know who I was, fat, spotty, like just some complete loser. Couldn't, like, I was like, how can you go from that to where I'm trying to get to? And it kept me up at night for a very long time. Okay, and I'm glad I can look back now that I'm here, because that's something that you're probably going to have to go through, especially if you're like 18, 17, 18. You're going to have to understand, like, you're very lucky that you're young and you're starting it now, but you have to understand, like, you probably will have a similar experience, because when you're young, you don't have much leverage in any other realm, and you have to really eat shit. Basically, metaphorically, you have to wake up every morning and eat a big spoonful of shit every morning, and that's what I had to do. And it's like, it sounds great for the story now, because obviously I've made it. Well, not made it, but I've gotten to 10K a month, a little bit more than that actually. And it's just it's ridiculous. Like, looking back, like, I'm so glad that I did it, but it nearly killed me. And the thing is, you have to go through that pain eventually. And I would recommend do it while you're young, when you've got no commitments and you haven't got a wife and kids. I know I had a girlfriend, but it's not really the same when you're like 18, 19. I got very lucky, things panned out the way they did, but it nearly killed me. It really destroyed me. And honestly, not a lot of people will be able to hack what I went through and the feelings that I had, and the way I used to wake up in the middle of the night, like sweating, and like just have these really like intense like panic attacks, because I just didn't know what the hell I was going to do in my life. I hated myself. Family member had cancer. My life felt like it was just going down the drain. Didn't know what the hell I was going to do. I was looking at jobs and I was thinking of becoming a bin man. I'd spent 2.5 grand on this agency thing. I had a failed business. I just felt like a complete fraud. Luckily, I stuck with it, okay? And I think this is what comes at the end of it when you actually stick it through. But the whole, just push through, brother, like, push through, bro, no pain, no gain. It's nowhere near as easy as people make it out to be. It is soul destroying, right? And you're going to have to sacrifice so much, okay? Next thing, I had to cut out all of my so-called friends from school. I had to come to the harsh realization that these friends that I was, friends with, were actually only my friends because I went to school with them 5 times a week. I was forced to be friends with them because, like, your brain naturally is going to think, oh, these guys are my friends because you're so familiar, because you've been in the same environment for years and years. You're kind of brainwashed into thinking these are my friends. But I went on a lad's holiday to this. I'm not going to say the name of the place, but I went on a lad's holiday and I fell out with my friends while I was there. And I remember I had like a realization on the flight back home. I was just like, look, at the time I hadn't actually broken up with my girlfriend, but I was like very unhappy, and I was very unsure about what to do, and I was very, I was in all of this debt. And I remember just having a realization on the flight back home. I was just like, I need a complete change. I need to cut every bad thing in my life out. I need to do a complete self-audit. And I had to cut out my friends that I thought were my friends for years, because I realised a lot of them weren't my friends. They were actually rooting against me. I'd say my goals. I'd say what I want to do in my life. They'd laugh at me. I'd say stuff like I want to be a millionaire one day, and they'd laugh in my face. They were very unsupportive. And it was quite heartbreaking, to be honest. And I had to cut them out. And they probably remember me thinking I'm just some dickhead, some arsehole, because I left them, right? But I had to, because now I'm here, because I went through a period of complete isolation. I didn't have a girlfriend, right? I didn't speak to girls. Like, I was just sat in my room, going to work, coming back, not speaking to anybody, just working. And I had to go through that phase of my life, and it sounds like really glorified online, but it's not fun. No friends, right? Broke up with my girl, heartbroken, no women, no nothing, like nothing to look forward to, no hobbies at all, just working this terrible job and trying to find a way out. It's not fun, because it's fun if you know that you're going to make it out, but I didn't know I was going to make it out, because I had this museum of failures behind me that basically said, no, you're never going to make it. So yeah, that sucked. Cutting out my friends that I thought were my friends for years and realizing they actually weren't, right? That's something that not a lot of you are willing to do. And any average person that goes through that kind of situation can't hack it, respectfully. Like, honestly, because I've seen other people try and do it, that pain and that level of discomfort is like, it's so easy to then fix with, oh, there's a job application over there for 40, 50 grand a year. Just go and apply for that. Oh, there we go, 50 grand a year, just chill. No, like there's something wrong with me. Like, there's actually something wrong with me to go, nah, I'm not going to do that. Because I had this job application for like 30 grand a year, doing this IT apprenticeship with the weekends off and everything. And, you know, it would have been like more easy to manage with like, you know, my relationship and everything. And I was just like, no, that's not me deep down. You know, I want to make hundreds of thousands per year. And now I'm finally at that point. I'm glad I took that gamble. But a lot of people would be in that pain, see an easy escape of like 40, 50K a year, think, oh, that's pretty good. That'll do. Get me out of this pain. That's what most people would do. And to get to this point, you have to go, nah, I'm going to stay in the pain a little bit longer. I'm going to stay in this fire a little bit longer. And that's what I did. And that's what you have to expect as well. Okay, it's heartbreaking. Like, it feels like you just get one thing after another, after another, after another, after another, and it doesn't end at all. And then eventually, boom, now you're in a lovely Spanish villa. Trying to show you the view. Can you see the view? I can't see because the camera's flipped. Yeah, I'm in this lovely Spanish villa, in this lovely room. There's actually a gym. I'll try and open the window and show you the gym. That's funny, I can't even open the window. But anyway, there's a gym down there. I think you can see it. Yeah, doesn't matter. Anyway, so this is my life now. I'm actually thinking of getting a visa to live in Spain for like a year. This is my life now. I never would have been able to do this if I didn't go through what I went through and do what I just told you there. So yeah, next one is I also got to the point where I started making 5K a month, pounds, by the way. And I lost everything. Like, I got dropped by the offers that I was on, not for lack of performance. It was it wasn't lack of anything on my end. It was just a company restructure. And I learned the hard way that if you're going to be an appointment setter, you've got to have more than, you know, you have to have your eggs in multiple baskets just in case things go wrong, right? So I lost everything. You know, I got dropped by the offers I was on due to, you know, company restructure. I went from 5K a month to 0 overnight. And I thought I was going to have to go back to working in a retail job again. And, you know, I was written off for about 3 or 4 days because I'd worked so hard. I got into 5K a month. I felt like I'd finally starting to climb the ladder. I got this high, right? And then boom, just fell off again. And then eventually I remember, so it took me, I think it was 5 months. It took me 5 months to get back to 5 grand a month. And then ever since, I've never hit below 5 grand a month since. And I've actually hit well above it several times. So actually it was a good thing. But again, most people, like, they'd be like that. They go through all that pain, get to 5K a month and then lose it. And then they go, oh, no, let's go and get a job now. Like, oh, you know, that they wouldn't let it go. I thought, no, let's use this as leverage. And now, like, and then 5 months later, I got back to 5K a month. And then ever since I've never hit below it, and I've hit obviously above 10K as a result. Okay. And it's actually one of the best things that ever happened to me. So yeah, guys, that's my museum of failures, right? Just a quick recap. So I had that sales call where I got ripped apart by a millionaire, basically. Failed agency, a failed mentorship where I've got put in loads of debt and the guy just ghosted me. Heartbreak, I had to break up with this girl that I really liked to live this kind of life. And, you know, that is pain that you wouldn't even begin to be able to imagine. Family member got cancer, right? That was horrible on top of everything that was going on. Lost all my friends that I thought were my friends, right? I had to cut them out. And I also lost everything once I got to 5 grand a month. I lost it overnight, okay? Boom. And that's just scratching the surface of what I've had to go through. So if you want a part 2, I can make a part 2, but that is my museum of failures. 10K a month. The way that I changed my life, right, the way that I started making money online, traveling the world, all this stuff, and getting to the point I'm at now is with the model called appointment setting, right? It's a form of remote sales. You're probably told to start remote closing. If you're a beginner and you have no idea what to do and you have no experience, don't jump into remote closing. I've got other videos explaining why. Start with appointment setting. You start making a couple of grand a month within like a month, 2 months with the right strategy, which I can absolutely give you, because I'm still in the space myself. I still do it to this day, and I also coach people. So if you want my personal one-to-one help, showing you how to do this properly, because most other appointment setting coaches don't know what they're talking about, and they're not skilled in the game like I am myself, right? There's going to be a link down below in the description to book in a call with me, and I'll personally run you through how I can help you one-to-one, right? Land a high-ticket AI-proof appointment setting role, and eventually get to the point where you're living like this, okay? So if you want my help, book in that call, and I'll run you through how I can do it. But if you don't want to be sold to, don't click it, because full transparency, that call is designed to try and sell you something. So if you book it in, I will try and sell you something. But if you don't want to be sold to, right, don't click it. If you're not that serious, don't click it. But if you're serious about making this work, and you're willing to put in the work like I just told you there, and live this kind of life, because it's absolutely possible, and especially if you have someone holding your hand, right, book on that call, and I'll run you through exactly how I can help you.